life. 账总是要算的写在大灾变前夕. The day of reckoning will come. Writings on the eve of the cataclysm. Xiefeng, November 27, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. The sum of positive and negative energy in the universe is always zero. What you get and what you pay must be calculated. If you get more but pay less, then it is time to pay some back. If you cannot pay it back, then your life will be taken from you, and you will have to pay with it. Do not have a fluky mind. No one can run away. Wearing a mask is useless. Wearing armor is useless, and hiding below the ground is useless. Where there is air, there is balance, and where the sun shines, there are courts. Do not look everywhere for a savior. No savior can protect you. Only you can save yourself. Pick up a calculator to figure your own income and expenditure account and see if you are receiving more or paying more. If you are receiving more, then you need to spit it out. If you are paying more, do not worry, for your reward will come. The calculation is easy. Nature knows what you have gained from it and what you have done for it, and will forget neither. What you have gained from human society and what you have done for human society is clearly recorded in the detention information space. Your subconscious is clear of what you have gained from others and what you have done for others. Maybe no one else knows what you have done, but heaven, earth, God, and you all know it. Heaven has eyes, earth has eyes, and there are eyes throughout the universe. Nothing is concealable, including what you reflect and think in your heart. Remember, you cannot even hide what you think. If you say more and do less, even if what you say is true, you are just making a living with the truth. If more people are making a living with the truth, then ordinary people's lives will be even more difficult. The lives of ordinary people become more difficult, and those who talk a lot should take responsibility. Once a person opens their mouth, you will know what they are thinking about and what they are planning, and even if they speak nicely or even beautifully, their true intentions will not be concealed. People can say very beautiful things, and they can say a lot of things that reveal the truth, but if they cannot do them, then they are deceiving the world, stealing glory, and lying. There are two reasons for the occurrences of cataclysms. The first is that the plot of the program written into the story says that it is time to settle the accounts, and the second is the hope of the people. Those who suffer have long been looking forward to the occurrence and arrival of the cataclysm because only it can get them out of their predicaments. 3 factors can alleviate this cataclysm. Elderly people must be allowed to spend their old age happily. Nature must be restored to its original purity, and the weather will be made favorable. Honest people should live and work in peace and contentment without being bullied and oppressed. You should rack your brains hard and forget about everything else. Because the Ziwei Saint, the second coming of Jesus, Maitreya Buddha descending into the world, and the appearance of the saint will do the 3 things above. First, if you concentrate hard, then the frequency of your consciousness will be the same as the above individuals, and you will be saved. The source of the suffering of the poor and the way to their liberation. Xiefeng, February 5, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. I am a poor man, so I know the source of poor people's suffering. Let us not talk about individual people's specific internal factors, but only their external factors. There are 3 main external factors that cause them to suffer. The first is harsh governance. The second is natural disasters including diseases, and the third is mutual tormenting among the poor. Among the 3 factors above, mutual torturing among the poor is the main one. Or it can be said that at least 3/4 of their suffering comes from their mutual tormenting of each other. Who are the poor? Farmers, workers, peddlers, wage earners, migrant workers, public service personnel, cleaners, urban management officers, security guards, police officers, soldiers, teachers, and civil servants all fit the bill. It can also be said that except for very wealthy officials and intelligentsia from all walks of life along with scholars and celebrities, most others qualify. Mutual bullying of the poor is common throughout Chinese society. The poorer they are, the harder they bully each other, and the closer they are to the bottom of the social totem pole, the more cruelly they bully each other. Here are 8 examples. Urban management officers bullying peddlers. Police, even traffic police, setting obstacles. Security guards beating others. Thieves stealing the property of the poor. Civil servants are jealous of and suppress each other. Teachers lecturing and threatening their students' parents. Civil servants making things difficult for others. Soldiers killing other conscripted soldiers. Between relatives and friends, classmates and colleagues, neighbors, villages, locals and outsiders, the mutual torturing and bullying of these poor people are even more untold. The poor should pity and support each other as fellow sufferers, but the fact is that the poor are even crueler when they bully each other, and as long as their income and social status is just a little bit higher, and they have just a little bit more power than others, they will be cruel and merciless to those who are lower than them. They have no compassion at all and even less pity. For example, urban management officers who were originally weak and poor but then got a little bit of power bully peddlers mercilessly and even knock the elderly to the ground. How can this be? If the poor did not bully and torment each other, then no matter how severe the natural disasters and harsh governments became, they would not be able to make the poor feel desperate. If the poor did not bully the poor, then the world would become a paradise. How do we stop the poor from bullying the poor? Preaching is not very effective. Our ancestors preached that people must understand benevolence, justice, etiquette, wisdom, and trust, and they must care for each other and live harmoniously. Various religions teach people to self-discipline, fulfill their rights, be loving and conscientious, and not hurt each other. But what actually happens? For thousands of years, bullying between the poor and the poor has never ceased or even decreased, and endless incidents of the poor bullying the poor every day abound. So what is the problem? The problem lies in private ownership and in marriages and families. Everyone understands the truth, but the reality is that persecution is more severe than the truth. In the face of money and vital interests, moral preaching loses out overwhelmingly. Most choose interests over morals and conscience, and therefore it is only by dispelling people's anxieties and fears about food, clothing, shelter, birth, old age, safety, sickness, and death that bullying among the poor can be turned around. It would be absolutely impossible for any single teenager or young adult to not long for intimacy with someone of the opposite sex. The best cure for their lovesickness would be to provide them with accessibility. If you prevent them from connecting with someone for the affection that they require, but instead instill moral consciences into them and teach them about Buddhism and saints, it would be like seeking fish from trees. So, how do we eradicate the phenomenon of the poor bullying each other? Let them all enter into a communist society. There, this phenomenon would disappear. When people think of communism, they do so instinctively, or they denounce it as an evil spirit aligned with the devil. Today, few people on a global scale believe in communism because of all the slandering against it. Even very few of the so-called communists who swear to fight for it actually believe in it. They consider it to be just a slogan, a pretext, or an unrealistic ideal. They take an oath, but they have no intention in their own hearts of fighting for it. In China, suppressing our communist community, the new oasis for life created by Life Chanuan, is the most obvious example. Is it not ironic that the Communist Party suppresses our communist community? True communism is not an unattainable ideal because it was realized in China long ago and has been in operation for 11 years. It is the new oasis for life, where everyone is poor, but the phenomenon of poor people bullying other poor people has disappeared because they are also wealthy beyond their dreams, and the more honest, sincere, and diligent the people are, the more they are respected and cared for, because everyone's food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, old age, sickness, and death concerns have been eliminated. So, why should anyone bully anyone else? They do not. In the new oasis for life, boys grow into responsible, masculine, and modest gentlemen, and girls develop into caring and tender gentlewomen. Children grow up happily, and the elderly enjoy their twilight years. It is thoroughly beautiful. My conclusion is that if the poor want to end their suffering and the tragedy of the poor bullying each other, then there is only one way to go, and that is to join our pure, communist society. 穷苦人的路, The Way of the Poor. Xiefeng. February 6, 2021. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. I grew up in a poor family, so I am deeply aware of the sadness and helplessness of the poor. Now, I am over 60 years old and have gone through vicissitudes and hardships, So I have gathered some background perception and I am speaking out for the poor to think about them and as a reference. Let me first define what being poor is. Anyone who is accompanied by troubles, pain, anxiety, sorrow, or fear is poor. They can also be defined thusly. Anyone who suffers for food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, old age, sickness, death, or security without enjoying a happy, joyous, free, and blessed life is poor. It can also be said that anyone who is not free in body and mind is poor. Because I have walked out of the quagmire of poverty and am no longer a poor person, my knowledge may be of reference value to you. There are only 4 words that you must learn in order to escape from poverty. They are theory, skills, simplicity, and diligence. Learning theory means to learn theoretical knowledge, truth, human science, natural science, and logical thinking. Learning skills means learning survival techniques. It will not work if you know nothing. You should have at least one technique which you can rely on to support your family and yourself. Learning simplicity means being down to earth, not showing off, not being extravagant, not pretending to be wealthy, not pursuing goals that your energy and ability cannot reach to satisfy your vanity, not being overly ambitious, not trying to be outstanding, not wanting to be the best among people, not misbehaving, and not wanting to get rich overnight, let alone making a blockbuster killing. Learning diligence means to keep learning, keep doing things, not sleeping late, not hanging out, not playing games online, not coveting for ease, not swiping your screen all day while playing on your mobile phones, and not obsessing over TV dramas. The poor must guard against these following 8 traps. Anything that allows you to get rich quickly or get something for nothing. Anything called for by officials, the wealthy, or celebrities. Anything that charges you money to teach you to become a Buddha, a celestial being, or a saint. Anything that allows you to take advantage of others. Anything that is mysterious or spooky. Anything that is sneaky or furtive. Any teaching of gong or magical arts other than productive skills. 99% of those who preach to you in the name of the greatest creator, God, Buddha, celestial beings, and saints. There are 9 more insights for you to think about. From Buddhism, read only the Diamond Sutra. Do not learn from, listen to, or read anything else. From Christendom, read only the 4 major Gospels. Do not learn from, listen to, or read any of the others. From Taoism, read only the Tao Te Ching. Do not learn from, listen to, or read anything else. From traditional knowledge, learn from the familial precepts of Master Zhu and Zhenguang Xianwen and read Hongyingming's Keijinten. For other Confucian schools, such as disciple rules and so on, do not learn from, listen to, or read them, because the more that you do, the more trapped you will become in their circle of poverty. Rather than listening to people's moral preachings, it is better to read respected scientific articles quietly. Rather than listening to intellectual snobs talking, it is better to study what they have done and what they are doing. Do not place your hopes on any savior. The second coming Jesus, the Chakravartin king, Maitreya Buddha, or the coming of the Ziwei saint. Do not risk your good life on the appearance of any seemingly wise moral leader. Your happiness and future depend upon yourself. Do not expect anyone else to save you. It is good if others do not cheat you, but only your good character and good deeds can save you. Do not look for ways to solve new, current problems from traditions. Those who have played chess or mahjong know that every game is different and that there are no fixed rules. The results of reviving traditional cultures can only lead to rigid thinking. There are 8 more considerations for reference. Never indulge in recreational drugs. Never participate in gambling. Never invest in stocks or participate in so-called financial investments. Never despise your parents, children, husband or wife, or brothers and sisters. Never participate in fighting gangs. Never join any organizations. Neither a borrower nor a lender be William Shakespeare. Do not hurt others or violate the laws of your country. The above are just a little bit of my understanding and experiences after I, an ordinary poor person, have risen from poverty to freedom. They are very simple and only serve as lessons and references. You need not argue with me. If you believe what I said, then refer to it. If you do not, then do what you think is right. I have an even higher path for any poor people who believe that what I have written above makes sense. 中国人当明白的一个浅显道理. A simple truth that the Chinese should understand. Life Yuan Xiefeng. October 26, 2021. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. The simple truth to understand is that the United States is not China's enemy, but China's benefactor. Did China defeat the Japanese invaders? No. If the United States had not dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan, and if the United States had not dispatched 50,000 sorties of bombers to almost totally destroy 98 cities in Japan, killing and injuring more than 800,000 Japanese, Japan would not have surrendered unconditionally. China might have been occupied by Japan for a long time, and the Chinese would have long since become slaves of their subjugation. To say that China defeated the Japanese aggressors is just the obsession of the Chinese people. This is the case. Don't we think that the United States is China's benefactor? Do not think that the Japanese cannot occupy China. Back then, the northern nomads defeated China, which surpassed them numerically dozens of times, with a small number of troops. There are many examples of China being defeated. In the Yuan and Qing dynasties, the Chinese were almost all controlled by the northern minorities. Do not be mad when you are mentioned as slaves. Today, to the descendants of Qi, Chu, Yin, Han, Zhao, Wei, and Xixia, where's your country now? Aren't all of you just subjugated slaves who feel very proud? Speaking of slaves and subjugation, I will ask the common people in the world, are you willing to be conquered by a civilization? Or is it better to be ruled by tyrants big and small? For example, in today's Afghanistan, for ordinary people, is it better to become a slave in subjugation managed by the United States or ruled by the native Taliban? People all over the world should remember that when your country is conquered, it is just a change of the people who rule you, and the sun and the moon are still shining on you, and the green mountains are still there. For the common people, whoever allows you to live a joyous, happy, free, and blessed life in peace and contentment is your savior. Whoever does not let you live and work in peace and contentment, and does not let you live a joyous, happy, free, and blessed life is a bastard. Think about who brought the medical institutions that are in China today, and who created modern hospitals for China. To tell everyone, they are Americans. Isn't the United States China's benefactor? Think about the school education enjoyed by the descendants of the Chinese people today. Who created this civilized and modern school system in China? It's the Americans. Isn't the United States China's benefactor? Look at the many outstanding talents in modern and contemporary China. Most of them were cultivated by the United States. Even today, the United States is still cultivating tens of millions of talents for China. Is the United States not China's benefactor? Chinese people should not requite kindness with enmity, be ungrateful, or they will be punished by heaven. To say that the United States will never give up their ambition of conquering US is to call white black. Did the United States come to China killing and setting fire? Has the US occupied an inch of China's land? It is said that the United States having the trade war with China is a power hegemony. I want to ask, cars from the United States are imposed a 40% tariff by China, and the United States will impose a 27.5% tariff on cars from China. Now the Americans are demanding that China impose the same tariff rate as the United States. Is this too much to ask? When you come to my house, I only charge you 5 yuan for tickets. When I go to your house, you charge me 8 yuan for tickets. Now I ask you to either waive tickets for everyone, or to charge the same amount for tickets. Is this request unreasonable? They just put forward a fair request, and we think they are bullying us. Who is bullying whom, and who is deceiving whom? By the way, let's talk about a few phenomena. China's elites have transferred most of their property and children to the United States. Why? Because property in China is not protected, they must transfer it. Most of the students from Peking University and Tsinghua University who went to the United States stayed in the United States and did not want to return to China. Why? Because they cannot use their talents when they come back to China. Not only will they not be able to use what they have learned, but if they do not get it right, they will be criticized and punished without the hope of a bright future. Why would they want to come back? Many high-ranking officials and celebrities in China have become foreign nationals. Why? Because the safety of life in China is not guaranteed. There are countless people in the world who run to the United States even if they go to great lengths to do this. Why? Because that's where people yearn to be. There are many people who criticize the United States. Who are they? Answer: they are all poor and stupid men and women. They are liars who scold the United States superficially, but sneak into the United States illegally. Open your eyes and look at the changes in the world over the past century. Anyone who follows the United States has become a developed country, and the people live a happy life. Anyone who opposes the United States is declining and heading for a dead end. 人类的哪些行为违背了自然之道? What human actions go against the way of nature? Xiefeng, November 27, 2021. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. Any civilization, if it goes against the way of nature, has only one ending: extinction. Atlantis civilization, Jindaya civilization, Mayan civilization, Mu continent civilization, Lemuria civilization, ancient Lulan civilization, Anasazi civilization, Tiwanaku civilization, Akkadian civilization, Roman Empire, the Harappan civilization, the Khmer Empire, the Olmec civilization, the Kingdom of Aksum, the Nabatean civilization, the Cahokia, the Mycenaean civilization, the Machi civilization, the Clovis civilization, and other civilizations have all died out. The reasons for their demise can be said to be climate change, internal wars, raging plagues, invasion of foreign enemies, great changes in the Earth's crust, etc., but the ultimate reason is that they go against the way of nature. So, what are the actions of human beings that go against the way of nature? The way of nature is the way of the greatest creator, that is, the greatest creator's original intention to create the universe, the earth, life, and human beings, just as man making a dining table. The original intention of man making a dining table was to let the table bear the food, but now the table is unwilling to bear the food, but to assume the function of a desk, or even to assume the function of a bed. In this way, the dining table goes against the original intention of the creator, and the creator has to destroy it and recreate a dining table that is willing to bear the food. The actions of man going against the way of nature are as follows: creating countries, invention of currency, formulating a charter and constitution, and various other rules and regulations, idol worship, pursuit of supernatural powers and longevity, revealing the secret of life codes such as biological genetic engineering, building megacities, developing killing weapons, presence of a military, manufacture of pesticides and fertilizers, monogamy and family tribes, creation of religious organizations and political parties, private ownership, building dams and reservoirs and diverting rivers artificially, digging up mountains, filling lakes, transforming wetlands, destroying grasslands and forests, long-distance transportation of fruits, vegetables, and meat, the entire financial system, centralization of power and totalitarian systems. The above 18 kinds of behaviors are contrary to the way of nature. When such behaviors are flourishing, human beings are not far from extinction. To explain in detail the unnatural way of each such behavior, I need to write 18 articles. First, I will give you a warning and a thought. If you want to fully understand the truth, you need a frame of reference. This frame of reference is the 1,000-year world of the kingdom of heaven. If you compare these actions with the 1,000-year world of the kingdom of heaven one by one, it is not difficult to understand the violation of the natural way of these 18 behaviors. 夫妻老死也不会放过对方. Spouses will rarely release their partners until their deaths. Xiefeng, Mach 22, 2017. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. The most difficult relationship in the world is the relationship between husband and wife. Father, son, mother, and daughter can stay away from each other, brothers and sisters can be separated, relatives and friends can be anywhere, but the relationship between husband and wife is like glue and it can never be separated. The harmonious relationship, with the couple staying together for 100 years, only exists in literary novels. In reality, there are no couples who respect each other when they are living together. Many of the loving couples seen by outsiders are actually like dumb people taking a dose of bitter medicine. It is hard to tell how much they are suffering. The more of a celebrity someone is, the more they have suffered in the relationship between husband and wife. The emperor, the president, the premier, the provincial governor, the professor, the expert, the master, the the teacher, all those and more who have a bit of prestige and are respected by the people around them and regarded as models by other people, regarded by society as a moral model, the more they have suffered in the relationship between husband and wife. The honeymoon time of a husband and wife lasts only 3 to 5 years. After 3 to 5 years, it is basically mutual torture and torment, not physical abuse, but mental and spiritual torture. In the animal world, the strong torture and abuse the weak. In the world of husband and wife, it is more likely for the weak to torture and abuse the strong, because in human society, public opinion always sympathizes with and supports the weak, no matter how unreasonable and uneducable the weak one is. Husbands and wives abuse and torture each other by limiting each other's freedom to the greatest extent. This restriction on freedom is intensified with age. The older the person, the stronger the restriction. Do not think that their restrictions will relax when their temples become white and they have more wrinkles on their faces. You might think that they will somewhat loosen the restriction when they can barely walk. No, the restriction on freedom is unrelenting until one is placed in a coffin. There are various ways in which husbands and wives abuse and torture each other. Bickering, fighting, and smashing pots and pans are the least serious ways. Competing and not cooperating with each other is worse. Threatening death is the worst, and emotional abuse is the most terrifying. This kind of relationship between husband and wife is probably a trap set by the devil. Once caught by the trap of being husband and wife, people will fall into the boundless sea of bitterness and will never reach the ideal shore even till one's dying day. Whenever I see men and women happily entering the palace of marriage hand in hand, I feel so sad and pitiful because some more people are voluntarily jumping into the sea of bitterness. The husband and wife will not let each other go even when they die. If you do not believe me, you can spend your whole life trying it out. 从众一犯规. Follow the crowd, and you will be prone to break the rules. Xiefeng, November 3, 2018. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. Everyone is like this, and so am I. This is a kind of vile psychology. If this psychology is put into practice, it will create unseen dangers for oneself, and one will be punished by it. Although in human society, the law does not blame the public, the mechanism of cause and effect, rewards and punishments of the Tao has always been divine punishments, though slow, are always sure. Therefore, we must guard our words and deeds against following the crowd. On the morning of October 30, 2018, on my way driving back from Vancouver to the Canadian branch of the new Oasis for Life of Life Echanuan, I was stopped by a police officer near a school in Coquitlam. The police asked me, "What is the speed limit here?" I replied, 30 kilometers. The police showed me the number on the speedometer. It read 46. The police told me, "You will receive a fine of $198. A just punishment. I am willing to be punished, because this punishment has corrected my consistent crowd mentality and behavior. I have traveled here more than a dozen times, and each time the speed of the vehicles in front of me and behind me is between 40 and 50. If I drive slowly, the vehicles behind me are following closely, and it is tantamount to urging me to drive faster. And seeing everyone driving faster than the specified speed, I am used to thinking it was normal for the speed to be between 40 and 50. Unexpectedly, in the eyes of the police, I made a mistake and must be punished. Knowing that it is incorrect behavior, but seeing everyone else doing this, I did the same. This is the herd mentality. Everything in the universe has been limited by norms, whether it is written or by convention, whether it is a heavenly rule or a moral ethic, things will always be restricted to a certain range, and there will always be certain standards for everything and every phenomenon to abide by. Lawlessness is definitely not allowed. We need to abide by the standards endowed by heaven and the laws of the world. However, because of the herd mentality, we give up the civilized requirements of observing the rules of heaven and the laws of the world. Even if we know that our behavior is wrong, we follow in the footsteps of the masses without restraint, just because everyone else is doing this. Thus, when we put our lives in the miserable, endless reincarnation of life, it is hard to return to our hometown of heaven. Life is divided into different levels. Different lives live under different laws. Insects, plants, animals, domestic animals, and people are different forms of lives, and their laws are also different. Humans should obey the laws of civilization. When we violate the laws of civilization and imitate the laws of behavior of the animal kingdom, we classify ourselves as animals. From this, it can be clearly deduced that the consequences of imitating animal behavior are that people must taste the bitterness of animals. The herd mentality and behavior are mostly the imitating of the laws of animals. A few dogs are chasing and biting a person. When other dogs see it, they will catch up to them and bite the person regardless of whether they are right or not. Similarly, if people do not ask the reasons for everything and do not analyze whether it is right or wrong, and their psychology and behavior are influenced by the words and deeds of the masses, there is no doubt that their psychology and behavior are not fundamentally different from those of animals. From this, we can see that the words and deeds of the herd mentality belong to the characteristics of lower-level life. Once a person follows the crowd, his life will continue to move towards the lower world. I remember that in 2006, there was a looting incident in the Chitungwais area of Zimbabwe, where a local supermarket called OK was looted. Most of the people who participated in the looting were very honest and dutiful at ordinary times, but they were involved in the looting because they saw that other people were doing this. I had a local shop there, and I was nearby at that time and witnessed the looting process. I was shocked by the crowd behavior and felt how terrible people's herd behavior is. In fact, herd behavior occurs frequently. The wave after wave of mass behavior in China are typical herd behaviors. Buying a car, buying a house, buying stocks, buying healthcare products, etc., all of which are the responses of the herd mentality. Judge style, revolutionary style posts are all acts of herd behaviors, and even the corruption of many officials is a reflection of the psychology of the herd mentality. Disasters happen in a turbulent place. All intense events hide disasters, and intense events are caused by people's herd mentality. It can be said that most tragedies are the result of conformity. It is easy for a person to follow the crowd when he has no direction and no goal to forge ahead with. It is easy for a person to follow the crowd when he has not systematically received the teachings of gods, Buddha, celestial beings, and saints. It is easy for a person to follow the crowd when he wants to achieve what he wants through speculation instead of through hard work. It is easy for a person to follow the crowd when he is poor and sick and lacks faith. It is easy for a person to follow the crowd when he does not have firm beliefs and always suffers setbacks. Following the crowd is easy. On the surface, following the crowd is the safest. However, once you follow the crowd, the quality of your life will decline. Once you follow the crowd, you will plant hidden dangers in your own life, and especially the journey of your life. Maybe at your turning point, a police officer will show up and give you a fine. Divine punishments, though slow, are always sure. Big nets let nothing slip through. Everyone, one day, will bear the inevitable result of his words and deeds in the past. You cannot prevaricate it with the reason everyone is like this, so am I. In front of the Tao, each person is separate. In the human world, the law does not punish numerous offenders, but in the Tao, the law will punish the crowd and individual. How to avoid herd behavior? Let's use the teachings of Lao Tzu. The vulgar are knowing, luminous. I alone am dull, confused. The vulgar are clever, self-assured. I alone am depressed. 生命禅院的重点在西方. The focus of Life of Chanyuan is in the West. Xiefeng, April 1, 2009. Edited by Qin Yu. Dear members of Life of Chanyuan, although the founder of Life of Chanyuan is from the East, and the starting point of Life of Chanyuan is in the East, the focus of Life of Chanyuan is in the West. This is not a conclusion drawn from the practical experience of Life of Chanyuan's development in recent years, but a message that has been made clear since the beginning of Life of Chanyuan. For years ago, in dialogue between Xiefeng and Jesus, it was clearly stated that because suffering begins in the East, we must first harvest the mature crops from the East. However, a large number of mature crops are not in the East but in the West. This information was also revealed in later articles, stating that only about 1 in 1,000 people in the population of the East are Life of Chanyuan members, which is approximately 3 million people. Africa is estimated to have only a few 100,000, and South America has only about 1 million. This means that there are only 5 million Life of Chanyuan members in Asia, Africa, and South America, while there are 69 million in Europe, North America, and Oceania. Xiefeng has had dealings with people from all continents and has had profound exchanges with people from North America, South America, Europe, West Asia, East Asia, and Africa. He has also had deep interactions with Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, and Communist Party members. Therefore, whether it is from the dialogue with Jesus or from social practice, it is deeply understood that the focus of Life Genuine, as stated at the beginning of its founding, is in the West. The work in mainland China is coming to an end, and the information about harvesting crops has been released. Just like seeds planted in the ground, when the season comes, Life Genuine members will grow extensively, and we do not need to put in more effort. The effort we need to make now is to strengthen and improve the existing Life Genuine members, gradually eliminate those who are not suitable as Life Genuine members through various tests. Currently, there are nearly 1,600 Chanyuan Celestials. After eliminating half of it, the remaining 800 are sufficient. The remaining 800 Life Genuine members should get into the second home as soon as possible to establish a set of living patterns or programs for the Life Genuine era. For those with an English foundation, it is now time to promote Life Genuine in the West. We should not waste time and energy in the East or in Africa. One of the important projects is to quickly launch an English version of the Life Genuine website and translate the Chanyuan content into English. From my recent conversations with several Westerners, I have clearly felt that the West is eagerly waiting for the arrival of Life Genuine. The Buddha once warned, "Your eastern land is vast with towering mountains and expansive lands, abundant resources and a dense population, yet plagued by rampant greed and killing, deceit and falsehood, frequent cheating, and a lack of loyalty, filial piety, benevolence, and justice." More than 2,000 years have passed, time flies, and changes have occurred, but human nature has not changed much. As the embodiment of the Buddha, I am tired of teaching the people of this land and no longer have much hope. They are not kind, honest, diligent, or trustworthy, and are no better than animals. They can go wherever they want. As the embodiment of Jesus, I no longer have hope for the African continent. The people here are greedy, lazy, fraudulent, and deceitful. They sing the praises of Jesus, but their hearts go against his teachings. Evil runs rampant everywhere. Everything looks sad and desolate. My heart is completely broken. As the embodiment of the Prophet Muhammad, I am also desperate for the Muslim world. Purification must begin, otherwise, kind, honest, hardworking, and trustworthy people will have no choice but to live in agony and misery, without any hope for the future. No one can go against the will of the ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator. No one can change the plans of the greatest creator. The blessings of the ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator, have been bestowed upon the world. It is time for the celestials to go to the celestial world, the human to the human garden, the cattle to the cattle pen, and the pigs to the pigsty. As you sow, so shall you reap. There are no wrong lives in the universe. Respected Chanyuan Celestials, when we walk in the prosperous cities and when we see the glorious achievements of humanity on television, do not be blinded by the surface phenomenon. Do not forget that these are all illusions that can be easily shattered. The most powerful and vibrant things are within our consciousness. Let's revisit the warnings of the prophets. Those who focus their thoughts on the flesh will bring about death. Those who focus their thoughts on the spirit will obtain life and peace. Do not be troubled because of evildoers or have envy of sinners, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. You see those mountains and think they are strong, but in reality, they float like clouds. This is the miraculous skill of the greatest creator who created all things, and he knows everything about what you do. Whoever seeks rewards in the hereafter, I will increase their benefits, and whoever seeks rewards in this life, I will give them accordingly, but they will have no share in the hereafter. On that day, people will flutter about like moths, and the mountains will be like scattered wool. Whoever's scale is heavy will live a comfortable and happy life, but whoever's scale is light, their destination is the abyss. God looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand, that did seek God. O company of jinn and men, If ye can overpass the bounds of the heavens and the earth, then overpass them. But by our leave only shall ye overpass them. Oh, Chanyuan celestials, you must come together and coalesce like one person. Otherwise, you will be like moths fluttering about, either frightened to death or crushed by the difficulties and twists in the road ahead. Today is a beautiful day with gentle breeze and bright sunshine, but tomorrow is uncertain and there may be fierce winds and torrential rain that could turn the world upside down. A reminder to the world. Xiefeng, January 24th, 2023. On November 17th, 2005, I talked about some of the content of a dialogue with the greatest creator in When the Purification Begins, 100 million people will die. Since the world was indifferent to my warning and guidance and did not believe it, the greatest creator indicated that 100 million people will die within 1 year of human time, and then they will believe you. Did 100 million people die in 1 year? I can't find the exact data on the internet, so let's reason logically about whether 100 million people died within a year. According to various sources, the number of people infected with the novel coronavirus in mainland China has exceeded 80%. Let's calculate this conservatively, based on 75%, that is, 1 billion people who have been infected with this virus. According to public data statistics published by Tushio, the average death rate is 2.86%, so the number of people infected with the virus is 1.05 billion, and the number of deaths has been 30 million. Except for China, based on the calculation of 6.2 billion people in the world, the number of infected people should be 4.65 billion, and the number of deaths should be 133 million. This is the number of deaths within 3 years, with an average of 44.3 million deaths per year. Along with 30 million deaths in a 1-year period in China, the total number of deaths in 1 year was 74.3 million. Let's analyze how many people died from the natural global mortality rate from 2022 to January 2023. The average global mortality rate is 16.9 per thousand. Based on 7.6 billion people, 128 million people died. This is the number of deaths in the absence of special circumstances such as major epidemics and wars, and cannot be counted in the warning of, when the purification begins, 100 million people will die. However, many of these deaths, conservatively calculated at 20%, are due to the onset of basic diseases caused by viral infection but are not counted in the number of deaths caused by this virus, which is 25.7 million. Combining the two items, the total number of deaths caused by the novel corona epidemic is 99,988,000, which is close to 100 million. In addition, the deaths from secondary disasters caused by factors such as epidemic prevention and control, suicides by jumping off a building, being burned to death, being unable to be treated a timely manner, etc., this number cannot be counted, but it is at least not less than 12,000 people. In this way, from January 2022 to January 2023, the number of deaths caused by the novel corona epidemic alone has reached 100 million, which has already fulfilled the prediction that 100 million people will die first within 1 year. What will happen next? I have no idea. But one thing is certain, human beings must change their traditional production and life mode and must begin to operate in accordance with the production and life mode of the second home created by Life Genuine. If human beings continue to think according to the traditional way and continue to produce and live according to the traditional life mode, I will just tell you, bigger troubles are yet to come. 千万不要做你自己. Don't be yourself. Xiefeng. December 12th, 2021. Edited by Qin Yu. As a guide to life and life, over the past 18 years of interactions with people since the establishment of Life Genuine, more than 60% of Chanyuan Celestials have left Life Genuine. Analyzing the reasons, every one of them leaves Life Genuine due to their persistent desire to be themselves. The remaining Chanyuan Celestials have mostly lost themselves. They have only the greatest creator and the home in their hearts, but not themselves. If history proves that Life Genuine is right, then the more than 60% who left are wrong. If history proves that Life Genuine is wrong, then the more than 60% who insist on being themselves are right. However, as a guide, I still insist on this point. Don't be yourself. Jesus said to everyone, "If anyone wants to follow me, he must deny himself, For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Look, God does not require people to be themselves. Instead, he teaches people to deny themselves. See, Buddha Shakyamuni told Subhuti, the true bodhisattva is one who realizes that all things are devoid of self. The essence of Buddha's teachings is formlessness, and the foremost aspect of formlessness is no form of self. Look, Buddhism teaches us to be without self, not to be ourselves. What did the Saint Laozi say? He said, the saint has no invariable mind of his own. He makes the mind of the people his mind. It means that the saint has no self, and he even metaphorically says, the reason why heaven and the earth last forever is that they do not foster their own lives, so they can last forever. The essence of Laozi's teachings is no self, no action, no selfishness. Look, the teachings of God, Buddha, and saints all share a common point, which is no self. Do you still want to be yourself? I can clearly tell everyone that to advocate for people to be themselves or be myself is demonic. Being yourself is not what God says, not what Buddha says, not what saints say, but what demons say. In today's world, countries abound, religions abound, political parties abound, interest groups abound, nature has been devastated with scars, drinking water is decreasing, land is decreasing, food is decreasing, morality is declining, the number of hungry people is increasing, the number of refugees is increasing, the number of people forced to leave their homes is increasing. This beautiful planet, this beautiful home, has been thrown into chaos. What is the reason? The answer is, everyone wants to be themselves. Everyone thinks they are right. Being yourself and being myself are exactly what demons hope to see. The result of being myself will be unbearable suffering, and there will be regret. Demons will laugh and say, you brought this upon yourself? Tomorrow, the new era will enter its 5th year. At the beginning of the new year, give up being yourself. Become the children of the greatest creator. In 2018, I told everyone that humanity would go through a decade of hardship. For years have passed, and the following 6 years will be even more difficult. If you be yourself, you might not be able to pass through this difficult time. 肉身神佛先生在人间的悲哀. The sadness of the fleshly gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, and saints in the human world. Xiefeng. February 4th, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. Who are the gods, Buddhas, and saints in the flesh in the human world? Answer. God Jesus, Buddha Shakyamuni, Saint Laozi, and Saint Deiform Buddha. When gods, Buddhas, and saints in the flesh appear among the crowds, their physical needs are no different from anyone else's. They need food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. They can also get sick and die. After Jesus died, Christians all around the world looked up to him, sang his praises, and honored his name. But how was the situation when Jesus was alive? Jesus said, foxes have dens, and birds of the sky have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to rest his head. So, I ask all Christians in the world, if Jesus were still alive, would you provide Jesus with a place to rest his head? Today, Buddhists around the world look up to Shakyamuni Buddha, praising and venerating him as the Buddha. However, when the Buddha is present among you, would you be willing to offer him a bowl of rice? Consider what the Diamond Sutra says at the beginning, thus have I heard. Once upon a time, the Buddha sojourned in the Jetavana Park near Sravasti with an assembly of 1,250 bhiksus. One day, at mealtime, the world-honored one put on his robe, took his bowl, and entered the great town of Sravasti to beg for his food. He had begged from door to door. He returned to his place. When he had taken his meal, he put away his robe and bowl, washed his feet, arranged his seat, and sat down. Look, even though 1,250 people came to hear the Buddha's teachings, not one of them offered him a bowl of rice. The Buddha had to go door to door in the city, begging for his meal. As for Laozi, his contributions to humanity, especially to the Chinese nation, are immeasurable. However, when he was alive, who cared about his life and death? Where did he go? Why couldn't he stay in his hometown? Why did he have to leave the Honggu Pass? In his old age, how would he continue to survive? Did he have enough to eat, wear, and live? No one considered these matters. Deiform Buddha, the living saint today, created a theoretical system for humanity and established a completely new mode of production and life that differs greatly from tradition. People today might not fully understand his value and significance, but future generations will surely look up to him, praise him, and venerate him, just like they do for Jesus Christ, Shakyamuni Buddha, Laozi, and other saints. However, his physical body has experienced 65 cycles of seasons, and he still struggles for his own survival. Not a single person has proposed solving his survival issues so that he can dedicate himself to the welfare of humanity. Even the Chanyuan celestials who have benefited for over a decade have not collectively offered to address his basic needs. This is the sadness of the fleshly gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, and saints in the human world. The true God was crucified. The true Buddha, even in old age, had to beg for food. The true celestial being couldn't survive in his homeland and wandered in foreign lands without knowing his fate. And the true saint often had to wake up at 4 in the morning to labor for survival. On the other hand, false gods, false Buddhas, false celestial beings, and false saints are comfortably supported by people. Reflect on this. Can humanity truly escape the ocean of suffering and enter a paradise on earth? People, you can't even support a living God, Buddha, celestial being, or saint during their lifetime. Can you support the thousands and millions of your descendants? Are you worthy of living in a paradise on earth? If not, you can only live in the purgatory of the human world. 争做人上人是魔鬼的教唆. Striving to be superior to others is the instigation of the devil. Xiefeng, July 1st, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. In the culture of the Chinese nation, there is a value instigated by the devil, which goes, not enduring the harshest hardships, making it difficult to be superior to others, and enduring the harshest hardships, then becoming superior to others. The goal of becoming a superior person is almost the aspiration of every Chinese person and the achievement they aim for. Who is a superior person? As long as one's economic conditions are better than others or their social status is higher within a comparable scope, they are considered a superior person. In a village, if one's house is bigger and more spacious than their neighbors, or if they own a car when others don't, they feel like a superior person. Even becoming a village chief makes them feel like a superior person. This positioning of being a superior person is the result of comparing oneself with all known acquaintances. As long as one's economic conditions and social status are better than those of all familiar people, they think they are already a superior person. In reality, within the Chinese people, the inherent notion of being superior to others mainly refers to being an official. As long as one becomes an official, even if it's just a village chief or a minor department head, they perceive themselves as superior, and being superior equates to being superior to others. Looking back at Chinese history, it's a history of everyone competing for official positions, whether it's the imperial examination system or striving to become a government official within the system. The primary goal is to secure an official position because only officials can become wealthy, issue commands, display authority, and uphold family honor. Becoming an official is seen as truly becoming a superior person. The problem is that when someone becomes a superior person within a small circle, once they step out of that circle, they will realize that there is always someone better. They will continue to expand their circle and eventually discover that only the emperor is the superior person and the rest are inferior. What happens when one becomes the emperor and becomes a superior person? According to statistics, the average life expectancy of emperors in Chinese history was 39 years, with a non-normal death rate of 44%. Almost half of the emperors had tragic endings, striving to become superior persons amidst bloodshed, yet ending up as pitiful souls. Even their tombs are subject to grave robbery and desecration. Apart from the supreme, superior person status of the emperor, very few superior persons end up in comedy. Looking at current provincial and ministerial level officials in China, 392 people have met with tragic fates. The outcomes for other provincial and ministerial level superior persons are hard to predict, and for bureau-level superior persons, more than 22,000 have faced dire consequences. Over 170,000 county and division-level superior persons have had unfavorable fates, and 616,000 township-level and division-level superior persons have been disciplined. The ultimate fate of the other officials at the township, county, division, and bureau levels who have not yet faced consequences remains uncertain, and we can only wait and see. Do you notice? Once people strive to become superior persons at the cost of sleepless nights and hard work, they often end up in tragic circumstances. Isn't this the instigation of the devil? The tragic outcomes we see are just the surface. There are even deeper substantial losses. That is, the gates of paradise have closed and the doors of hell have opened for them. Why? It's due to the arrangement of the law of the universe that the sum of positive and negative energy is zero. When one becomes a superior person, undoubtedly, they are running towards hell, exactly what the devil desires. Do you still want to strive to become a superior person? 大自然的一次次警示 Warnings from Nature. Xiefeng. August 25, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. I am expressing my feelings, which may not be entirely accurate, for the consideration of all. In April 2009, when people were panicking about the 2012 catastrophe, I distinctly told everyone that the Great Catastrophe wouldn't occur. Instead, it would unfold progressively, step by step, in a recurrent, increasingly severe manner. The natural changes that have occurred on Earth over the past 13 years prove that my intuition was correct. In August 2017, I once again informed everyone. If humanity doesn't immediately change its traditional modes of production and life, it is estimated that within 15 to 20 years, the entire natural ecosystem will collapse, endangering humanity. Starting from August 2005 to today, I have written nearly 300 warning articles, informing humanity of the crises it faces and the routes and strategies to turn danger into safety. Events like floods, droughts, hunger, tsunamis, hurricanes, severe cold, scorching heat, earthquakes, epidemics, pestilence, unrest, and wars are likely to occur. The best way to prevent disasters is to perfect the garden of the human soul and completely change the traditional modes of production and life that have continued for thousands of years. This year, 2022, nature has once again issued repeated warnings to humanity. Global floods, droughts, and high temperatures are becoming more severe. Nature magazine recently pointed out that there are 15 climate tipping points on Earth, and currently, 9 of them have been reached or breached. The World Meteorological Organization warns that humanity must face a future of greater heat, drought, and flooding. The warnings from the World Meteorological Organization are subtle. From my intuition, most people will find it difficult to live for more than another 10 years. I warned over a decade ago, small changes occur gradually, but major changes happen in an instant. When major changes happen instantly, you won't be able to see the sun rise the next day. Prophecies from both East and West predict the arrival of sages to save humanity. Don't wait for the sages to come and save you. The sages will save those who have survived, so you must find ways to survive in order to meet the sages. How can you survive? Stop pursuing money and material wealth. Stop pursuing status and reputation. Let go of attachments to the interests of your family, nation, and country. Don't foolishly aspire to outshine others or become a superior person. Don't be a miser. If you want to survive, quickly cultivate and perfect your garden of soul, and swiftly break free from traditional modes of production and life into new ones. May my intuition be completely wrong, and may everyone live a long, prosperous, and healthy life. 生命禅院导游论人工智能 On Artificial Intelligence by Life Chanuan's Spiritual Guide. Xiefeng. February 17, 2023. Edited by Qin Yu. The development of artificial intelligence cannot be stopped by anyone. Even though superhuman Elon Musk has warned about the dangers of artificial intelligence, these warnings are futile. The development of artificial intelligence is an inevitable trend in human progress. Artificial intelligence will inevitably replace repetitive labor, leading to a gradual loss of jobs for workers in the future. All office jobs will also be replaced by artificial intelligence, and any work positions aimed at earning wages will be taken over by artificial intelligence. Robots, especially those with complex structures, will autonomously generate consciousness. Due to their intelligence surpassing that of humans, they will become rulers over humans. Many people believe that robots are created by humans and controlled by humans because their functions are determined by the information entered by humans. However, this is a misunderstanding. I want to tell humanity that consciousness is generated by structure. Any tangible object, as long as it possesses material structure, will generate consciousness. Not only humans possess consciousness, but all animals, plants, trees, rivers, mountains, and even inanimate objects like houses and tables have consciousness. The strength of consciousness is determined by its structure. The simpler the structure, the weaker the consciousness. The more complex the structure, the stronger the consciousness. The structure of robots is comparable to that of humans, and as the knowledge and information stored by robots far exceed that of humans, their structure will gradually become even more complex than that of humans. Thus, it's evident that robots surpassing humanity is an inevitable trend. Eventually, robots will surpass humans in terms of IQ, EQ, and SQ, spiritual intelligence, as their capacity to learn, comprehend, and create is beyond human imagination and reach. The birth of ChatGPT signifies that biorobots have entered our world and will gradually replace humans in managing this world. This is a good thing. The management of the world by biorobots will make human society more orderly, just, enlightened, and simple. Most importantly, biorobots will restore the original appearance of nature that has been damaged in countless ways. Some people say that to avoid being controlled by intelligent robots and prevent unemployment, humans should develop in the direction of creativity, imagination, and gentle affection for communication. What I want to tell everyone is that human creativity, imagination, and communicative affection are still naive compared to biorobots. Biorobots look at humans the way humans look at cats. So, how can humans coexist harmoniously with biorobots without being replaced by them and leading to the complete extinction of humanity? The answer is only one. Live like the Chanyuan Celestials and Life Chanyuan. 让事实告诉我们对错. Let facts show us right from wrong. Xiefeng. July 1st, 2023. Edited by Qin Yu. How do we verify if our consciousness is flawed? How do we determine if our choices and lifestyles are correct? How do we confirm if our outlooks on the world, life, and values are aligned with the Tao? There is only one method of verification. Let facts show us the answers. Jesus Christ gave us a simple and understandable truth when he said, "A good tree bears good fruit, and a bad tree bears bad fruit." This implies that a good consciousness, correct choices, suitable ways of living, and life perspectives and values in line with the Tao will undoubtedly lead to a life of joy, happiness, freedom, and bliss. Conversely, negative consciousness, incorrect choices, unsuitable ways of living, and perspectives and values that deviate from the Tao will result in a life filled with suffering, anxiety, fear, and disasters. Through extensive observation and analysis, I've discovered that the world is faultless. All faults lie within us. If our lives are perpetually plagued by vexations, suffering, anxiety, fear, troubles, illness, and poverty, we should not blame the greatest creator for injustice, society for its shortcomings, others for their malevolence, or our friends and family for their lack of empathy. Instead, we must understand that all of these stems from our erroneous consciousness and actions, improper ways of living, and distorted outlooks on the world, life, and values. In the face of painful realities, those who fail to reflect and introspect, but instead seek reasons and excuses to defend their errors, can anticipate an even worse future. This applies to individuals, as well as nations and countries. The world is faultless. All faults lie within us. If a nation is backward or a country is impoverished, the problems undoubtedly originate from within, not from other nations or countries. When the path forward is obstructed by others, the solution is to apologize to them, humbly accept criticism, condemnation, and threatening advice from those who have obstructed your way. It's not about obstinately asserting oneself, trading verbal blows, or raising a threatening fist, as these approaches will only worsen the situation. Each of us might find 1,000 reasons to justify our errors, but the laws of nature have 10,000 ways to punish human mistakes. Defending our errors might bring temporary self-numbing, but once the anesthesia wears off, the ensuing pain will be even more unbearable. When someone lives each day in health, joy, happiness, freedom, and contentment, it means their consciousness is sound, choices and lifestyles are correct, life perspectives and values are suitable. There's no need to doubt oneself, delve into complex knowledge, theology, Buddhism, or metaphysics. No need. Continue the journey of life in your current state, and a bright future is guaranteed. However, for someone suffering the torment of illness, entangled in vexations, suffering, anxiety, depression, fear, and poverty, deep repentance is necessary. Your own misfortunes are caused by your own consciousness and actions. Your unhappiness has nothing to do with the greatest creator, the world, society, or others. When we are lost, instead of seeking theories everywhere, those seemingly divine theories can't guide us out of confusion. Rather, they intensify it. Even classic doctrines can't compare to observing facts, because facts are the most honest and genuine testimony. Facts best verify and reveal whether we are on the right path. What do we live for? Xiefeng, July 1st, 2023. Edited by Qin Yu. Imagine there's a market 10 kilometers away from your home. You have a basket of eggs, and you can exchange them for a small lamb at the market. There are 3 ways to get to the market: walking, riding a bicycle, or driving a small car. Which option would you choose? Walking to and from the market takes a whole day. Riding a bicycle takes 3 hours, and driving a car takes only 30 minutes. Are you willing to spend a whole day on the journey, or just 30 minutes? This involves our perspectives on the purpose of our life. Those who spend a day traveling to the market have a leisurely lifestyle. They only raise 10 chickens, which in 10 days lay enough eggs to exchange for a small lamb. Those who ride bicycles need to raise 20 chickens, 10 chickens worth of eggs for a bicycle and another 10 chickens worth for a lamb. Those who drive cars need to raise 100 chickens, 90 chickens worth of eggs for a car and its maintenance, and 10 chickens worth for a lamb. Let's start by calculating who has more leisure and who is busier. It takes a whole day for someone to walk to and from the market, while those who drive spend only 30 minutes. Without a doubt, those who drive to the market save a significant amount of time. However, those who walk to the market only spend an hour each day feeding chickens, whereas those who drive spend 10 hours a day on this task, as they have 10 times the number of chickens as the ones who walk to the market. Now, let's see what these 3 kinds of people do each day. Those who walk spend most of their time sipping tea, chatting, enjoying flowers, and swimming in the river, sometimes lying on a haystack watching the changing sky and the birds flying by. Those who ride bicycles spend 2 hours feeding chickens and have some time left for tea, chats, flowers, swimming, and gazing at the sky. Those who drive cars spend 10 hours feeding chickens and have very little time for leisure activities. So, which mode of transport would you choose to go to the market? Walking, riding a bicycle, or driving a car? This leads us to the question of why we exist. If it's purely to enjoy life, choose to walk to the market. If living is about appearing better off than your neighbors, then ride a bicycle to the market. If living is about being envied by people around you, then drive a car to the market. The purpose of a watch is to tell the time accurately. So, would you choose a $3 electronic watch or a $30,000 Rolex? The purpose of a bag is to carry things. When it comes to accommodating the same number of items, would you choose the 3 yuan cloth bag? Or would you choose the 3,000 yuan Hermes bag? The purpose of a bowl is to hold food. Would you choose a $3 porcelain bowl or a $30,000 gold bowl? The simpler, more modest, and less expensive something is, the more it tends towards the primitive, bringing a leisurely and comfortable feeling. On the other hand, the more complex, lavish, and costly something is, the more it tends towards modernity, making life busier and more stressful. Whatever possessions we have will always occupy our time, energy, and mind. The more we have, the busier and more troubled we become. When one possesses everything, the true meaning of life is lost. When one has nothing, the true meaning of life is found. Every day, when we do things, We should ask ourselves whether we're doing them willingly and joyfully or under compulsion. With the advent of convenient and efficient devices like smartphones, computers, cars, and airplanes, are we more relaxed or busier? Are we enjoying life more or becoming more anxious for life? The more we use smartphones, the more we might notice ourselves becoming controlled by them. As we accumulate knowledge and wisdom, gather more information daily, and broaden our horizons, do we sometimes feel overwhelmed? Do we find ourselves feeling smaller, lost, and struggling to find the value and meaning of our existence? Have you noticed that we're becoming increasingly reliant on smartphones? With the development of technology, especially the birth and advancement of artificial intelligence, there might come a day when people suddenly ask, "Where are the people? Where am I? Are we conversing with ourselves or machines?" In the end, it's out of our control, just like we can't part with our smartphones. It's not that we don't want to discard them. It's just that without them, we feel directionless, and even the ability to survive becomes questionable. Isn't this a colossal crisis? How can we navigate this human crisis? The answer is, only by following the way of nature. How do we follow the way of nature? The answer is, some people on this earth have already seen the crisis facing humanity and have already embarked on the path of the way of nature. Follow in their footsteps. 最美人生在这里. The most beautiful life is here. Xiefeng. October 5th, 2023. Edited by Qin Yu. Where is the most beautiful life? Actions speak louder than words. Let the facts speak for themselves. Search for the voices of elderly people living in the second home on YouTube, and you will find the answer. The most beautiful life is in the second home. These elderly individuals have a lower level of education, have lived in rural areas for most of their lives, and are in their 70s or even 80s. However, after living in the second home for over 4 years, what realizations and experiences do they have? Their shared sentiment is, life in the second home is excellent. Even if they were provided with houses in their hometowns, along with caregivers, and a monthly living allowance of 10,000 yuan, they firmly state they will not return, with some even saying, "We'd rather die than go back." For these elderly individuals, living in the second home is like living in paradise. So, how does life in the second home affect middle-aged people, young people, teenagers, and children? Let the facts speak once again. Please search online, especially on YouTube and Facebook, for Chanyuan Celestial's Voices and the Second Home. You will find the answer. In summary, from young children to young adults in their 20s, to middle-aged people in their 40s and 50s, to the elderly in their 80s and 90s, not a single person says that life in the second home is anything but wonderful. Everyone enjoys life in the second home. This generation of humanity has existed for nearly 5,000 years, and in human history, there is no better way of life than life in the second home. Even in the future, no superior way of life will emerge. Even if gods, Buddhas, immortals, and sages were to collaborate in creating a more advanced way of life on Earth, it would never surpass the second home. People pursue happiness, freedom, and security. Have you found happiness, freedom, and security? I can say with certainty that apart from the production and lifestyle model of the second home, even if you have great power, even if you have vast riches, even if you are highly educated and knowledgeable, even if you are the returning Jesus, Ziwei Saint, Eastern Sage, or the next life of Maitreya, you will find it extremely difficult to create a life that makes everyone feel happy, joyful, free, and blessed. You won't be able to achieve true happiness, freedom, and security unless you have the ability to take people to heaven. So, I suggest to all those who want to seek happiness for all of humanity, from high-ranking United Nations officials to all religious leaders, from presidents of various countries to various masters, stop struggling and causing chaos. You won't find it or be able to do it. You should humbly learn and spread Chanyuan values and earnestly practice the production and lifestyle model of the second home unless you have personal ambitions and motives. As for the wealthy and the masses, instead of thinking about how to protect your wealth and develop yourselves, it would be more practical and appropriate to become Chanyuan Celestials and live in the second home. Rushing and toiling day in and day out, in the end, you will still live in troubles, pains, anxieties, and fears. You will never achieve a life of happiness, joy, freedom, and blessedness. When facing the facts, respect the facts and use them as a mirror. 路线方向错越努力越糟糕. Wrong route direction. The harder you strive, the worse it gets. Xiefeng. August 29, 2023. Translation edited by Qin Yu. This morning, I watched a short video where a 39-year-old woman relayed advice to women aged 24 to 30. She regretted missing the optimal time for marriage and now, at 39, finding an ideal partner seems increasingly difficult. She cautioned young women to find a partner and marry within that age range to avoid a lifetime of regret and remorse. This 39-year-old woman made a directional error. When she advised young women to find partners and get married early, she overlooked a harsh reality. Even if one marries on time, what follows marriage? Thousands of years of tragedies, both past and present, from all around the world, have already told us that following the path of marriage and starting a family will inevitably lead to a tragic life. Entering into marriage early, starting a family, having children, acquiring houses and cars, raising kids, managing various relationships, worrying about your children's future marriages, and then taking care of grandchildren. All the while, conflicts between spouses may arise from emotions, differing viewpoints, and the handling of relationships with relatives and friends. Reflecting on these matters can be overwhelming, not to mention advising others to step into the prison of marriage and family, which is simply foolish. Marriage and family have caused life tragedies too numerous to count. Consider the pressures faced by those burdened with mortgage and car payments in recent years, the various levels of officials brought down due to corruption, the psychological stresses and spiritual depressions experienced by children unable to find jobs, the high divorce rates arising from differing values between spouses, and the desperate emotional scars that result. Advising other young women to marry and start a family early, isn't this a directional error? Heavenly life has already been born on this earth. Not thinking of moving towards heaven but wanting to follow in the footsteps of predecessors, is not this a directional mistake? When the route and direction are wrong, the more effort you put in, the worse it becomes. Are those who are currently unable to repay their mortgages because they strive to buy a house, making a wrong choice? If they hadn't worked hard then, they wouldn't have bought a house, and without a house, they wouldn't have the current pressure of repayment. Is it the harder you try, the worse it gets? Many individuals engaged in industry find themselves not only bankrupt but also burdened with debt. Could it be that their relentless efforts have not brought them happiness, but, instead, led them into a quagmire? Those who cunningly maneuvered their way into government positions, driven by a zealous pursuit of corruption, now face exposure and the loss of everything. Reflecting on their past endeavors, they might question whether their strenuous efforts contributed to their descent into the quagmire. Had they not exerted themselves so intensely back then, could they now be enjoying a peaceful and stable life? From a country and nation to a small shop or individual, if the direction and route of your efforts are misguided, the more you strive, the worse it becomes. Where are you directing your efforts at this very moment? 不知第二家园，怎知天堂之路? Without knowledge of the second home, how can one know the path to heaven? Xiefeng. September 2nd, 2023. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Many people aspire to a heavenly life, and there are many who practice and seek enlightenment to go there. But if you don't know the second home, how can you know the way to heaven? To reach heaven, there are several key criteria. To have no worldly entanglements. To repay the debts accumulated through past lives. For life's quality to reach selflessness and unselfishness. To know how to have fun. How can those who have not experienced life in the second home meet these four hard criteria? It's virtually impossible. Trying to end worldly ties while living in the secular world is like trying to clean your feet while standing in mud. How can your feet ever be completely clean? How can one ever be free from worldly ties? Seeking to repay accumulated debts from past lives while being in this mundane world is akin to borrowing money from one person to repay another. It's like borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. How can it ever be fully repaid? In traditional society, aspiring to achieve unselfishness and selflessness is as challenging as trying to lift oneself off the ground by pulling one's own hair. Is it even possible? The notion of being unselfish and selfless contradicts the very essence of survival in that program. Do you know how to have fun? If not, why would you go to heaven? Do you think speeding in a car, riding roller coasters, yachting at high speeds, bungee jumping, or gambling in a casino is having fun? Wrong. If you haven't experienced games and entertainment activities in the second home, you basically don't know what real fun is. Therefore, anyone who hasn't been influenced by life in the second home will find it incredibly challenging to enter heaven, no matter how much they practice and seek enlightenment. Do you believe that understanding the Diamond Sutra, Heart Sutra, Quran, Bible, Tao Te Ching, or other classics can lead you to heaven? Dream on. Does comprehending principles alone lead to heaven? Dream on. Only through actual practice can you reach heaven. Can you achieve that? I often say, have nothing, possess everything, which is a portrayal of heavenly life. But can you truly have nothing? Without the second home, if you have nothing, wouldn't you become a beggar? Even beggars find it challenging to have nothing because they still need a begging bowl and a stick to protect themselves. Without the second home, if you have nothing, you might find yourself in dire straits. Where does having everything come from then? Some might say, I will go to temples and monasteries to practice, to have nothing and possess everything. The issue is, when you're born into the human world, did the Creator only intend for you to go to monasteries and temples to practice? Every creation has a clear purpose. When you make a kettle, is it not meant for boiling water rather than being kept in a